And those are actually swifts, and what they do is they're looking for insects. Okay, this is called Raphanus sativus. It's just a radish. That's all that this is. It's just a radish plant. It's gone to seed, and it's fairly large, and they're real common, and as you can see, it's growing right in a really sandy area. But the seed pods taste really, really good. They taste like radish. If you like radish, not bad, huh?
Oh, you came back the next time, right? So they didn't kill you.
Oh, there you go. It is radish. It tastes, and once you know it's radish that you're eating, it actually tastes like radish. It is a non-native, but it's in the crucifer family, just like mustard, and you can eat most of the plant. But the root is really hard to eat. You just can't eat the root. It's like a burlap bag. But the pods are actually really, really good to eat. Anybody want a pod?
I'll eat anything, bro.
There you go. You'll like it. Okay, this is one of the canyons off the beach, and you can plainly see all these layers and sedimentary nature of the sediment. This is all shale, and there is some bentonite interlayered every now and then. Some of it is very hard. The hard layers have silicon dioxide infused into this soft sedimentary layer, and then they become really hard, and the softer stuff is just like the stuff around us. It's just dirt. Then if you look to our right here, right along the bottom, yeah, you see, what do you see here? That's an old beach. Yes, exactly. This is all the round rock. From here, this is all just rubble. But all this from along here is like what we came up here on. It's just an old beach. And is this 5,000 years old or 10,000? I don't know what the date would be, but it's not that old. But this used to be the beach. And if we dug in here, again, we find shells just like at the other place. So these are just rounded beach rock that have been rolling around in the surf. Last year or 2 years ago, I went back in this canyon, and we actually saw some owl back there. There were three owls. These freckles are actually fish scales. And fish scales are probably the most common fossil that you're going to find. And what happens, and here's a bone. You see that? That's a bone, a fish bone, and these are fish scales.
Is this a fish bone?
Let me see. Those are fish scales, yeah, good. And it's the most common fossil. And now then you break open a rock and you just have hundreds and hundreds of fish scales. And what that means is, what would happen today if we found a bunch of dead fish? It would generally mean red tide. And even in those days they had red tide. And these red tides would kill all the fish, so you get these what I'll call mass fish kills. So when we actually find these areas, we know what we're looking at. We're looking at ancient red tide that killed off thousands and thousands of fish. And those are actually ravens above us, and there's a hawk above the raven. Now the way you can tell ravens from crows is those ravens are doing just what the hawk's doing. They're actually soaring. Where crows actually flap their wings, ravens soar just like a hawk. And the hawk above it is probably a red tail. Someone asked me about the texture of this sand. It's fairly coarse, it's fairly thick, and what happens at the beach in Redondo, Hermosa, Manhattan is a bit finer than this, but Redondo, Hermosa, and Manhattan are actually part of a large sand dune. So as this rock and sand break down and you throw it in the air, the softer stuff blows inland. So by the time you get to Torrance, this sand is like talcum powder, because the fine stuff of the finest has blown that far in, and that's the back part of the sand dune. So this is coarse. As you go inland, it turns into talcum powder.
Yeah, Manhattan Beach is very fine.
Yeah. So you wind up getting a thinner and thinner grade. And this is a fairly new beach, so all this in a few thousand years will be sand too. Okay. So we found another one of these. It's called a purple-hinged picton. And as you can see, there's like a perfect little scallop shell here and then a very rough shell here. And if it's really a purple hinged picton, it's going to have a purple hinge. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's the purple hinge. So purple hinge picton, picton meaning comb. It's called a rock scallop. So this is called a rock scallop. They're irregular. They can get up to about 6 inches. And this is a new one, by the way. The old one we found up was on top. Now we're at the beach, and this is a new one. They look exactly the same. So rock scallop, purple hinge picton, and there's the purple hinge. Black commemorates the early Japanese farmers and fishermen in the early 1900s and talks about what they did in their contribution. This area is kind of a public park of the Trump National Golf Course, and right underneath the clubhouse there is a bathroom at the very lowest bottom floor. If you walk straight in underneath, there is a public restroom there, and right behind that is public parking. So if you drive down Ocean Trails Drive, go all the way to the end, turn right, and there's public parking, and it is free. And then there's a bathroom, and you can take these trailheads and go down to where we just came, which is the, the beach. So, okay. This is a wall that's built on the way down to the rotunda area where we park, and this happens to be a large square vertebrae, and this is a rib going in, and it extends past this part. And what we're actually looking at is the marrow. You can hear it, it's just different. The marrow is this part of the bone. So we're looking at that spongy part of the bone. This is not an old bone. This I just picked up, so it's probably 5 years old or something. Generally, land animals have a very thick outer edge because it has to hold a lot of bulk. Sea animals generally have very thin, and birds are the same. They have a much thinner outer layer because they're in water and they're buoyant, and birds need to be able to fly. So, but this is a very neat, weird fossil. I kind of like it. It's probably a vertebrae, a bone. We saw that one soft-bodied down on the beach that could be anything from a sea anemone to a ancient, sponge or coral. This is wood. I found this probably 6 months ago, and it's wood. It's a branch, and you can see it. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I found this over by White Point on the beach side of White Point. That's kind of neat. This is also a piece of wood, but this wood was floating around in the ocean and then got saturated with salts and settled to the bottom, then probably got infused with silicon dioxide, and then went down to the sand. The sand covered it, and then here it is. That's a piece of wood. I found this over at Forrestal. Before you walk into Forrestal, there's just this flat area that they had plowed, and here it is. It goes all the way from here all the way to here. Another piece of wood, but it's hard. This one I found at San Ramon Canyon. This one was up on the side of the side of the cliff. It's probably a neck. It's probably a neck. These are a series of backbone, and then you have the ribs that are still coming out here. And the nice thing, and it's on that side too. They go all the way through. See ya, Coop. But the nice thing about this is another piece of the bone, is that when it's not near the ocean, then you're going to keep these weird little bones that are just stuck on the side. I mean, it's a full bone. If it was near the ocean, it was rolling back and forth, this would have long been gone. It was on the hill near San Ramon Canyon. If you go up by Friendship Park and you just keep walking, you hit a series of these canyons, and I found it in one of these canyons. So we have different kinds of fossils. We have bone, wood, branch, and bone again. Okay, that concludes our monthly walk of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy.
No.
We do this every month, and we'll be someplace else next time. So I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next month. And I'm Russ for the PV Land Conservancy. See ya.